for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Caitlin Burke.
And I'm Mark Martin. Another round of severe winter weather is striking parts of the nation today, this time causing power outages and accidents from the deep south to the northeast. Gary Lane has more.
Old man winter just keeps on coming. A mix of sleet, freezing rain, and snow fell from northern Texas through the Gulf Coast and southeast. Up to 10 inches of snow fell in parts of Virginia. The wintry weather caused tens of thousands of power outages, burst water pipes, and accidents. In Maine, a snow squall caused a 70-car pileup on I-95 between Newport and Bangor. Wayne Trafton told a passenger in his vehicle they were going to crash.
We were down to probably 25 or 30 miles an hour when I hit the minivan, and I just told him to brace himself, and we collided with the minivan that was packed, that it crashed into a pickup truck.
Remarkably, no one was killed, but more than a dozen people were rushed to the hospital. The northbound lanes of the highway were closed down for 5 hours. While Boston is still digging out from a record 100 inches of snow this winter, in nearby New Hampshire, Drew Mullins of Petersboro says he's glad he's still alive. He was raking heavy snow from the roof of his house because he didn't want the roof to collapse. That's when the avalanche came.
I was thinking about my wife and my daughter and thinking that I'm not going out this way.
The rushing snow carried him off the roof and buried him in a snowbank. His wife Deanna came to his rescue.
I tried to dig him out as best I could, with my bare hands.
But she finally got him out with help from their daughters. And a rare experience in the deep south, enough snow to enjoy sledding down a hill in Alabama. Most people are just trying to make the best of it. Motorcycling in the snow may be a challenge for this Alabama man, but at least he can make a biker snowman. Gary Lane, CBN News.
President Obama is predicting victory in his quest to grant amnesty to 4 million immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally. Wednesday, he told those immigrants not to worry about being deported, saying the courts will side with him. A 26-state coalition is suing Obama, alleging the president's executive action overstepped his legal authority. And in Congress, some conservatives are still fighting to block the president. The House tied Homeland Security funding to a repeal of Obama's immigration order, but Senate Republicans have now agreed to approve a clean bill on the funding. That leaves House Speaker John Boehner with a tough decision in the days ahead.
The House has done its job to fund the Department of Homeland Security and to stop the president's overreach on immigration. And we're waiting for the Senate to do their job. Senate Democrats have stood in the way now for 3 weeks over a bill that should have been debated and passed. So until the Senate does something, we're in a wait-and-see mode.
Meanwhile, officials have said more than 85% of Homeland Security employees will continue to work, even if the funding is not approved in time.
ISIS militants have kidnapped more Christians in Syria, raising the number of hostages to 220, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The Assyrian Democratic Organization says ISIS raided 33 Assyrian villages, picking up as many as 300 people along the way. Right now, officials cannot confirm the exact number of hostages, but both humanitarian organizations have confirmed reports that ISIS has been taking the Assyrian Christians from a chain of villages in the past 3 days.
And in Nigeria, the armed men who abducted an American missionary this week are demanding a ransom of nearly $300,000. Phyllis Sorter was taken from her Christian school's compound in the central part of the country. Nigerian police urged the family not to negotiate with the abductors, expressing confidence that Sorter would be found. Friends and family describe Sorter as a visionary, involved in multiple projects to help the Nigerian people.
Here in the U.S., 3 Brooklyn residents are behind bars. They're accused of trying to join ISIS to help murder Americans. Prosecutors say one suspect had plans to bomb New York.
The 3 suspects appeared in New York and Florida. They're accused of plotting to join the terror group ISIS and kill Americans, including President Obama. They're charged with conspiring to support ISIS.
This is real. This is the concern about the lone wolf inspired to act without ever going to the Middle East.
Police arrested one of the men at JFK Airport. Police and the FBI say he was about to head to Syria. Defense attorney Adam Perlmutter says everyone involved needs to take a step back.
There's just the rush to prosecution, to arrest, and to conviction. And I just remind everybody today that the presumption of innocence is still the law of the land in America.
The three men live in Brooklyn but are from Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. The FBI began their investigation after one of the suspects, 24-year-old Abdurasul Jurabov, allegedly posted on an ISIS website back in August. I am in USA now, but is it possible to commit ourselves as dedicated martyrs anyway while here? To shoot Obama and then get shot ourselves, will it do?
Thank God we will never know if they really were intent on committing acts of terror or were just talking.
Investigators claim killing police, FBI agents, and bombing Coney Island were plans discussed by the suspects. The FBI believes their plans were very preliminary, but they say this backs up the growing concerns over the reach of the terror group. The FBI director says the agency has current investigations into homegrown radicals in every state, and a portion of them are ISIS supporters. The arrests are just the latest examples of the growing dangers of lone wolf terrorists inspired by ISIS, and the possibility that more such terrorists could try attacks in the future.
The FBI says more than 20 people in just the past year have been arrested trying to fly from the U.S. to join ISIS.
The U.S. and Iranian officials have reported progress in the nuclear negotiations, speaking about a deal that would clamp down on Tehran's nuclear activities for at least 10 years, then slowly ease restrictions. But Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says world powers have given up on stopping Iran from developing nuclear weapons.
They might accept this, but I am not willing to accept this. As Prime Minister, I am responsible for the security of the country and the security of Israel's citizens. I must do everything I can to express our objection and warn of the dangers, not just for us, but also to our neighbors and the entire world, of Iran arming itself with nuclear weapons.
Netanyahu is scheduled to address Congress next week.
At a Washington conference on extremism last week, President Obama claimed the world's terror threats were not rooted in Islam. But at another conference in Colorado, Christians and Jews heard a very different message: to stand firm in the face of growing persecution. John Waggy has more.
The president sees the terrorist threat as a law enforcement problem, a battle with difficult rogues of all faiths, not a civilizational war.
The notion that the West is at war with Islam is an ugly lie. And all of us, regardless of our faith, have a responsibility to reject it.
But his remarks come as much of the globe is engulfed in a growing flood of hatred for Jews and persecution of Christians, much of it coming from the Muslim world. That includes terror groups like ISIS, who have founded an Islamic empire, and Iran, whose leaders have preached the extermination of Israel for decades. One Jerusalem pastor, Wayne Hilsden, says Christians and Jewish believers in Jesus must speak up and brace for fierce opposition.
How many of you know that the more hatred comes against the Jewish people, those who stand with them in their time of trouble will also be hated? We will also be slandered. We will also be lied against and falsely accused. It just goes with the package.
At a summit this month in Colorado, Hilsden launched a group called FIRM, the Fellowship of Israel-Related Ministries. The goal is for believers to learn from the book of Daniel, to be aware of the times we're in, and to take a stand, regardless of what it costs, and to do it in love.
This is one of the most intimidating times in history, when the attacks of the enemy can spread like wildfire around the world and never eradicated. And when we are attacked, we will be tempted to attack our accusers in return. But when we stand firm, let us be like Daniel and not return evil for evil. Let's love our enemies.
Messianic Jewish leader Jonathan Bernis says fundamental Islam is the carrier of the new anti-Semitism, and Christians won't be spared in the spiritual battle that is upon us.
I think that the answer for the Muslim world is the same as the answer for the Jewish world, and his name is Yeshua, Jesus.
The leaders say there's a special calling for young people who respond better to support of Israel and the Jews when they understand the character of God's name is at stake.
Because God's covenant endures forever. Because God's covenant is everlasting. Because He's a faithful God. Because the calling and the gifts of God are irrevocable. That's why we stand with Israel.
John Waggy, CBN News.
Coming up, does America still lead in the space race, or has NASA just become another bloated bureaucracy? Find out if we're grounded or headed for new frontiers. Next.
Welcome back. U.S. regulators are moving toward tougher rules for internet providers. Today, the FCC is expected to approve a plan that puts the internet under the same regulations as the telephone. Supporters of the move say the government needs to make sure internet companies cannot slow down web traffic by giving priorities to big websites. Critics are not buying it. They say net neutrality could morph into heavy-handed government interference. Republicans in Congress say they plan on passing legislation that would prevent this from happening.
Is NASA still shooting for the stars, or has it just become another big government bureaucracy all tied up in red tape?
As David Brody reports, despite its setbacks, the space agency is once again planning to go where no man has gone before.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
1969, America wins the space race by putting men on the moon, and it puts the U.S. on top of worldwide technology for decades. Now, almost 50 years later, American astronauts depend on Russia, of all countries, to get us back into space.
It should be seen as a pretty big scandal that after all the billions we spend every year, we're currently sending Americans into space on Russian rockets. And we literally could not get an American into space on an American vehicle right now.
Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich joins the chorus of Americans asking this question: what happened to America's space dominance? What began as Gemini and Apollo led to the Space Shuttle program, which survived the Challenger and Columbia explosions to send 300 astronauts into space over 3 decades. Now the U.S. teams with other countries to run the International Space Station, but it's a Russian spacecraft that gets our astronauts there. Factors include lack of vision, money, and public support. It led to America falling behind other countries, but NASA employees remain steadfast.
That vision has changed, it's expanded throughout the years. And there are different reasons for it, whether it's economic or political. But at the end of the day, NASA is about exploring.
It's also become about something else: government red tape.
We now have bureaucracies that are so desperate to avoid failure that they both limit the risks they take, and they take far too long to study what's going on, as though they could anticipate every problem. And it's a big problem for us.
NASA maintains the book is nowhere near closed on the space program. They're just tuning up for another big splash.
The Atlantis program was around for 26 years, and during that time, it really gave Americans a sense of pride, really proud to be an American. But what's next for NASA? Well, the answer: a mission to Mars.
With that in mind, NASA launched the unmanned Orion vehicle into space.
And liftoff at dawn. The dawn of Orion and a new era of American space exploration.
Orion's December mission proved successful, a test run, if you will, before NASA attempts to send astronauts to Mars sometime in the next decade.
Ultimate goal is to send humans to Mars and return them safely. So once we send someone beyond low Earth orbit again, back to that cislunar space or to an asteroid or to eventually to Mars, we will continue to invigorate, this country and show that we still are the leaders in space exploration.
NASA will get financial backing as President Obama's current budget does not cut its funding. That means we may soon see a robotic spacecraft capture an actual asteroid and bring it close to the moon so astronauts can eventually explore it. It also clears the way for private companies like Boeing to continue partnering with NASA to build spacecraft that could resume taking Americans to the International Space Station instead of the Russians. It's bringing back a lost excitement, and Gingrich would like to see young Americans embrace the future potential.
We should be saying to 14, 15, 16-year-olds, go into engineering, go into astronautics, go into aeronautics, Learn how to do the things that will make you one of the great pioneers of the next generation. We should be arousing a generation of excited explorers.
Right now, it's not just NASA exploring new horizons. Private companies like Virgin Galactic are also hard at work, designing and testing rockets to take people like you and me up into space. Gingrich brings an even bolder idea to the table. How about using cold, hard cash to reward people for breaking new ground? There's precedent for it. Aviator Charles Lindbergh took home 25 grand for the first nonstop flight across the Atlantic in his Spirit of St. Louis.
If we had $1 billion prize for the first vehicle to take people to the moon and keep them there for, say, 60 days, you'd have lots of people. The guys who currently buy football teams would start buying a competition in space.
It makes for a fascinating new challenge as America looks to once again explore uncharted territory. David Brody, CBN News, at Cape Canaveral in Florida.
Up next, the documentary on the Jewish exodus from Egypt that's being called a game changer. Check out the exodus evidence that demands a verdict after this.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lori Johnson, health reporter for CBN News. Did you know most of us eat 180 pounds of sugar every year? And the worst part is we don't even realize we're stuffing ourselves with all this sugar because it's hidden in foods that seem healthy, like fat-free strawberry yogurt. It has more sugar than 1.5 ice cream cones. Check out my blog. I'll tell you why sugar is so bad for us, even deadly, and reveal more places it's lurking that you would never suspect. So log on to cbnnews.com.
More than a decade ago, one movie maker started investigating one of the Bible's most famous stories, the Exodus from Egypt.
His journey led to both a crisis of faith and an award-winning documentary. Chris Mitchell brings us that story from Jericho.
This is from the film Patterns of Evidence, The Exodus. According to the book of Exodus, Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt and into the wilderness for 40 years. Then Joshua led them across the Jordan River over here near Jericho into the Promised Land. Some say it's just a fable, but others say this new documentary provides evidence that demands a verdict.
I actually went to the location where the events were supposed to happen in Goshen in the eastern delta and went to the archaeological sites, and that's what I was told, that there was no evidence for the Exodus.
Filmmaker Tim Mahoney's research into the Exodus and the Odyssey that followed produced startling results.
6 steps in the right sequence, and we matched the story of the Bible every 6 in all the steps, and shows evidence for the Bible that people have never seen before.
The film proposes that when you get the timing right, archaeology matches history.
The whole thing, from the beginning of the sojourn in Egypt, the slavery, Moses and the Exodus, the conquest of the Promised Land, is all there in one nice, neat line, but it's way too early. You look for a collapse in Egyptian civilization, and that's where you'll find Moses and the Exodus.
When you put those cities side by side, the biblical account and the archaeology match extremely well.
There's this idea that Ramesses is the pharaoh of the Exodus, and I think that that happens in a particular time of history. And when everyone looks at that particular time, they're actually correct that there is no evidence for the Exodus. But other archaeologists and Egyptologists were saying, but wait a minute, there are evidences that are earlier than Ramesses that match this story.
Mahoney presents both sides of the archaeological argument. Did the Exodus really happen?
I hate to disappoint people, but we have no evidence for a single mass migration of people from one country coming into another country. I don't believe there was a single event that we can call the Exodus.
This person can't have seen all this. He imagined it.
I'm very much against chronological revisionism.
So far, there is no documented evidence about the Exodus.
Exodus did not happen in the way that it is described in the text.
How can we prove that?
The film is very, very convincing because we give both sides of it. We let you hear from archaeologists who say there is no evidence and why, and then we let you hear from archaeologists and Egyptologists who say there is.
Using state-of-the-art animation, groundbreaking archaeology, and new interpretation, it's already made a profound impact.
We would show these films to people who had no understanding or interest in the story. Even atheists saw it. And what they said was, wow. I love this film. I love this approach. One atheist wrote, I guess you did prove that, this event might have happened, but it doesn't mean that there were any miracles.
An E, an A, and an L. Israel.
Mahoney says it's a powerful tool to reach the skeptic.
If you've got family members that don't believe in God, or if you have people that are suspicious or want a scientific approach, this film gives you that type of opportunity to have those kinds of conversations. It's one of the most neutral and most intriguing types of films that allow you to have that opportunity.
The film challenges a powerful notion that the Bible isn't true.
For the last 50, 60, 70 years, people have been very critical of the Bible. If the story of the Exodus isn't true, then what Jesus Christ said and the apostles about Moses and the Exodus, then those statements are false. The whole Bible has a foundation within this story of the Exodus. What this film does is that it actually shows where the pattern of evidence is, and that, I think, has never been done before.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jericho.
I'll tell you what, Caitlin, looks fascinating in another way, that as Christians that we can lead people into the kingdom.
It really does. I love when they show both sides of the story like that. We'll be right back.
A new report is pinpointing the foods that are the hardest to resist.
They're also some of the worst for your health. Pizza, chocolate, chips, cookies, and ice cream. The Huffington Post points out that the foods that cause the most mental distress and physical discomfort are highly processed or high in added fats and sugars. Food is not an officially recognized addiction, but it can certainly affect how you feel and your health.
That is the truth, and those are all hard to resist foods.
They are.
Well, that's it for now on CBN News Watch. You can find more of our exclusive coverage of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com.
And tell us what you think about the stories you've seen here. You can do that on Facebook or at CBN News on Twitter. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.